Okay, well, welcome back, Aaron. I'm really excited. I told the audience that I went to see your show and that I loved it.
Oh,
I
thank you.
don't remember if I told them that I had to like get the fuck out the second it was over because I chose to not eat all day and eat fucking McDonald's on the way because it was like it was just one thing after another that day. I knew better. I knew better. And I was sitting there and I was like, no, this is not
Mm,
fucking happening right now. And I was like, am I about to shit myself while I sit here? I'm not sure. So then I was like, you know what? You know what? What you focus on grows. I'm just gonna pretend it's fine. And then I had relief for the last probably 30 minutes, but it
okay.
was like it was just gas. It just ended up being gas, but it was so fucking painful. And I was like, I can't be taking chances. And the parking at that venue was a little wild.
Yeah.
And I got there early, so I got to park right in front of the door, which I thought would be great. Do you know what wasn't great? Everybody was walking behind my car leaving
Oh,
the
you
venue.
you had to like you couldn't pull out
I
basically
had to
for a while.
wait, and I was like, "You know what?
Oh,
I'm just out on this little outing by myself, and here I am sitting in my car now, not knowing about what's gonna happen in the next 10 minutes because I drove about an hour and a half. That I live about an hour and a half from there.
right.
So
Wow.
it was a
Okay.
nice little outing for me. I got out of the house by myself, which is nice.
That's
And but
good. Yeah.
but like the venue, it was a really cool place, but I wasn't expecting the check-in thing to just be like, check your name off a list. And so they're like, okay, so you got 2 tickets because I got two in case I wanted to ask someone to go with me. Um, and also I was like, well, I'll support the show, whatever. And then they're like, "So, you got anyone else?" And I was like, "No, just me." And then I'm sitting there, I'm the only empty seat in the whole place is the one that I'm supposed to have filled next to me. So then finally someone comes and gets it, and I'm like, "Thank God. My God, is it that obvious I came by myself?" Like, which is not something I would usually do. Like, if I hadn't met you before, I wouldn't have felt
Right.
comfortable to go by myself, but anyway, it was a whole experience, but I had such a good time.
Okay.
Um,
All right.
so
Just so we're clear,
okay.
you believe it was the McDonald's and not the show that caused
I
the
believe it
distress.
was
Is
the
that
McDonald's.
okay? All right. That's
Yes,
good.
yes, and
I
I
just want to make
don't
sure
think
that clear for the listeners. That's
yes, it
all.
was just the McDonald's because my ass had decided not to eat all day and then shove
Sure.
disgusting food in my face right before going somewhere, and I knew better. I mean, that's not uncommon for that to happen to me, but I was like,
Yeah.
let me just try to keep things interesting around here for myself." Okay, so I wanted to have you back on because, well, just to catch up, but also I'm just so impressed because all of the things that you're doing right now require so much inner fortitude. Like, I think in some ways that's the things that you really post about. At least that's the way it resonates with me because I'm like, I there are times when I, like, consider setting up my own events in person, like, I've done online, but I haven't done anything in person, and so every time you just post about your tour, I'm like, "Fuck, I just wish that this was something I had gotten past yet," but I haven't, but I will, but I don't remember if we got to this the last time I had you on, but I'm wondering, how did you decide to? Because you're pretty vocal about the fact that you did this at 50,
Hmm.
decided that
Yeah.
you're gonna pursue this dream of yours, and I'm wondering what led up to that? Also, I don't know if I know what you did before that. Oh, well, you've been yeah, let's start there. What did you do before you were like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna do this?"
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I've done a random collection of things, but I've been more or less some version of self-employed since I was probably 26 or 7. Um, and so, like, go through like a quick history of it, and you feel free to, anything jumps out that you wanted to ask about. When I was 25 or 26, I started working at a wholesale home furnishings company, a very small company, and I just was working in the office. I didn't really even understand the business. I needed a job to pay the rent. And but ended up kind of managing the office and learning about the business and meeting a woman there who also worked for that company. But it was really just a couple of us, and I knew that she was not getting paid well, and I learned that she was so talented in that industry. And I was there for about a year, and she and I left and started our own company. So wholesale home furnishings sales rep, manufacturer's sales rep, which is a whole weird way of saying we sold home furnishings, on commission. But we sold to wholesale to retailers and home things like that, and did that for about 5 years, and did paid our rent and paid our bills. And so, like, I mean, we were not making millions of dollars by any stretch of the imagination, but we were making money and paying ourselves. And that led to, because a lot of the vendors we worked with were very small artists, whether they were making furniture or lamps or bed linens that had an artistic bent to them, or actual small artists. Anyway, in Christmas of 2001, I made a license plate map of the United States for my business partner. We had dealt with these artists who were using found objects to make things, and somehow I ended up with this idea of making a map of the United States out of license plates. That's the California flag behind me, but
Oh, wow.
and I made it for Christmas 2001, and she's like, "You should make another one and put it in the showroom and sell it." And I was like, "I don't ever want to make another one of those. That was a nightmare." And then she said, "You could sell it for a lot of money," which I didn't. I can't draw, I can't paint. Artists is that never really crossed my mind. And so I eventually did, and then that sort of took off and really exploded, and people started buying
Oh.
this thing, and I was like, I don't know how to make that many, and so that became my business. I stepped away from our company and started this art business. And then when that was going for about a year, I decided to move to LA to pursue acting, because I was like, I have this job that is paying pretty well for right now. Who knows how long it's going to last, but I don't have to, like, work at 3 restaurants and have 9 roommates. Like, I'm making okay money, and I'm, blah, blah, blah. So I thought I'd move to LA and do that. And within a year, I fell into hosting an interior design show for HGTV, which was very unexpected, but that was the thing at the time, all those home makeover shows.
Mhm.
And I had a little bit of a background in that world with this furniture business and whatnot. Even though most of the episodes would consist of me calling my ex business partner, Margot, and being like, "Hey, here's the pictures. What do I do with this place?" Because, like, I was not an interior designer. To me, it was really an acting gig, but the acting was like convincing the network and the producers that I knew what the hell I was talking about as far as interior design goes.
Yeah.
Um, but I was lucky because, I mean, you heard the story at the show, but it's a very low budget show. So it wasn't, "Hey, here's 50 grand, dude, 6-year-old girl's bedroom." Like, I don't know how to do that. I know how to, like, all right, this is what we're working with. I can only work with what you have. So, like, let's get rid of half of it and move it around. And so it was sort of the perfect show for my skill level. And no one more surprised than me. I was actually good at, like, the hosting part on camera. I really expected to get fired like halfway through shooting the pilot. I was like, "Oh, well, I'll do it until you fire me." Um, so I did that for a year, and then kind of after when that ended, unceremoniously, as you heard, I thought, oh, I just thought I'll just get another show. Big deal. That was easy enough. I was in LA for a year, got my own TV show. I'll just get another show, and that's that's not how it works.
Having no
So I
idea how fucking, like, lucky, I'll say the word, but, like, that it had fallen
Yeah.
into your lap that
Yeah,
way.
I mean, that really fell into my lap, and for a lot, it was just a lot of things, perfect timing in a lot of ways, and connections, and it was very unexpected, and then I, of course, burned it to the ground, because that's what I do, because it was just like, this is not really what I want to do, as
Mhm.
as big of a deal as it was to me. It was sort of, I was just like, this is like this super low budget interior design show that I signed a horrible contract on, and I'm not making any money on anyway. So what is the point? And I also was naive enough to think, like, all right, I did that for a year. I paid my dues. It's like, yeah, paying your dues in Hollywood is not a year of your own TV show.
Right.
So I just thought, clearly I'm destined for whatever, and this I'll just get something else, and that just didn't really happen. So I did stand up briefly in LA in 2009 for like 6 months. Uh, you know,
Oh.
10, 10 times, maybe 15, but probably 10 or 12. 5, 6 minute kind of things. Um, and
Was
then
it
at
the
some
open
point,
mics? mics that you did, or was
It
it
wasn't
regular
quite
stuff?
open mics. It was a little bit above that. I fell in with this writing group that I think helped me start out at a level, not anywhere near like being a pro, but like better than your sort of normal like first open mic when you've never had any, you know,
Right.
help with it at all. Kind of, it helps you. In 3 months you do, you get a year's worth of whatever, however you want to look at it. But so no, I would do these things called bringer shows, which are terrible in the industry. Everybody hates them, and you once you get to a point, you sort of like, oh, I realize what those are, and I don't do them anymore. A bringer show is, I'll put you on my show if you bring 10 people, or 5 people, or whatever the number might be. So they'll put anyone on. So, they'll 12 comics and 2 of them might be funny. And nobody in the audience wants to be there because they've been sort of coaxed into like, hey, come support my thing. And like maybe they want to see their friend, but they don't really want to
They
see
don't
9
wanna
other
see those other
comics.
ones. Yeah.
And it's also LA. So, LA is sort of famous for like, your audience just like, yeah, I could do that, or I have done that, or whatever. There's a lot of that vibe in LA,
Oh.
especially at those kind of shows. So that was my experience with that, with stand up back in '09. And then uh, I started a business with my college roommate in Boulder, Colorado. It was out of show business, so it was all done. And a sports nutrition company called Scratch Labs, sort of akin to something like a Cliff Bar company. He trained athletes for Tour de France, Olympics, things like that, cycling, and had created this all natural sports drink. So I moved out there, did that for 4 or 5 years, and kind of got bored, and then opened a couple restaurants in Northern California and Reno. And then I quickly realized that that's a nightmare of an industry. But my restaurant in Reno, I opened a month before COVID,
Oh.
and I got through COVID okay. It was pizza. It was supposed to be pizza and tacos, everything made from scratch. And then COVID hit. I was like, pizza, takeout, nobody comes inside. I really locked into the rules because my parents were at my house. They were
Mm.
visiting from the East Coast, helping me get open, and then it was like time for them to go home. And then I was like, oh, nobody's going anywhere. And early days of COVID, it's like older people, susceptible and blah blah blah. So I
Yes.
really, really locked down. I just went online and said like, and I thought this is it. Like the restaurant's not going to work. I put all this money into it. It's just like there's a pin. It's bad luck, bad timing, and it's just like, all right, well, we'll do takeout for a couple weeks until we go broke. Basically, is kind of the theory. And then I made this video, and I got a little emotional, and it just went viral in Reno. I mean, not like
Yeah.
millions of hits, but it went kind of locally viral. And I don't know if you watched The Bear, that show. But there's an episode, I think, in the first season, like episode 7, where they get a New York Times review or something, and they also start taking orders online. They get like 10,000 orders in a day, and it's just absolute chaos. So that's what happened to me on the first day of like lockdown. And
Oh my god.
yeah, it was a complete disaster. But then I reconfigured the system to sort of have a governor on it. You can only order so many pieces and stuff. And so that's just what I did. I did that for a year and a half, and then just burned out. Like I got through it fine. Like I did. People like, oh, COVID killed your restaurant. I'm like, no, I just burned out.
Yeah.
Because it was,
Yeah.
it was every single day for 18 months. All day of sort of nonstop. The restaurant world just never ends.
Yeah.
But I got through that with social media, because nobody knew who I was, and I had that first video that hit, and then I started making all these silly, famous movie scene parodies, turning, the cocaine, the heroin scene from Pulp Fiction and making it about, pizza, or,
Oh, wow.
doing, all
That's
kinds of,
great.
things of this nature. Cause I was bored out of my mind, and I felt like I have to let people know I'm still here. I just really was sort of, every week was kind of a panic of, all right, we got through this week. How are we going to get through the next week? And, so the people that took COVID seriously and didn't want to, take risks, really fell in love with my restaurant, because you couldn't come inside, and you would order a pizza. And the way I figured it out, I was like, you order a pizza at 6:30. There's 3 pizzas at 6:30. And you just pull up outside, and my mom would come out, and she was masked up from day one because she was an ER nurse and hospice nurse. And so she knew all that stuff. And so she would just take the pizzas out and hand it through the door, and, all that stuff. And so it became like a thing for people, like, oh, the Andersons Thursday, 3 pizzas. Yeah. 2 pepperonis and a thing. And like, I know, yeah, I never met anybody because I was locked to the pizza ovens. My mom
Yeah.
became sort of, this friends. My mom met all these people and had relationships with all these people because she would see them all the time.
I love that.
Um, so sorry, this is a very long answer of what I did
No, no,
before.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
But so yeah, and then I didn't even reopen to like dine in until I think July of 2021 because it's like we sell out every night. Why would I reopen?
Why?
It's just
Yeah.
what's the point? And then finally, it's like, well, we kind of, we do have to at some point. I mean, I wish I didn't have to, but rents and sort of, uh, and then I just burned out. And I was like, oh, I got to hire 10 people now instead of doing this whole thing with 3 or 4 people. And
Mhm.
I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I really fell back in love with like writing and performing and comedy and stuff, doing all this social media. Um, I'm still grumpy that none of those videos ever went like viral, and like, got me a, I don't know, I don't know. I didn't have, maybe if I'd had TikTok at the time, it was all
Yeah,
Instagram.
but I was
But,
about to say, now that you have, like, so many followers, you should try reposting some of them every now and then.
I thought about that. They're very, very COVID specific. um, but
I
maybe if
don't
I
know,
put like
man.
a throwback
Especially
tag on them.
because people have been bringing up COVID a lot recently, like, the things that they did during that time and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I think you might be surprised at people's
maybe
reaction.
it's funny, because I look back at them now, and I'm such a perfectionist, and I don't mean that that's not a good quality. That's a bad quality. That I don't know that I would have a hard. I just that all went away during COVID because I was like, I don't have time to shoot
Yeah.
10 takes of this. I'm tired and it's midnight and blah, blah, blah. And I have to post this tomorrow. I mean, this was my thinking at the time because I have to keep people engaged. And so it was very, there's something charming about that. I think this sort of like, this is clearly one guy playing 3 parts, shooting this in a restaurant that we're pretending is I did a thing from The Thing, the science fiction, where they're I did a scene from that. And it's, all these things that were for the time of COVID were, sort of charming and people I think dug following along. But, now I look at them, I'm like, oh, that acting is really not good. It's like, yeah, why
Oh
press record, turn on the light,
gosh.
and there's nobody saying the other line to me. I'm just, it's like, but anyway, yeah. So anyway, I had somebody offered to buy my restaurant, and I was like, yeah, yeah, get me out of here. And
Yes, please.
he's like, do you want to talk about price? I was like, not really, just get me out of here. Um,
Did
and then
you
I
lose
wasn't.
any money on that?
I think I think I ultimately I'll probably just about broke even on the whole thing. I mean, he got the bargain of a lifetime for a functioning restaurant with a fall. I mean, they've made changes. I don't, it's like I gave anyway. I mean, it's a different name, and then it's been years. They have since moved. I mean, they're doing fine, but I don't often get pizza there. But I just wanted to get out, and I oddly enough, like I did okay during COVID. I was able to you know, I mean, the idea that I worked as hard as I did for at that long to break even. I mean, it was good at the time because there was a time when I thought, oh, that's it. I sunk my life savings into opening this place and it's just gone.
Mm.
When COVID started, I really didn't think I would get through it at all. And yeah, so I felt, I mean, it's funny. The week we signed the deal, my restaurant was named the number 12 restaurant in the country by Yelp. Which, like, say what you want about Yelp, but it's still
Wow.
I was like, oh, that probably was worth a little bump in price, but didn't happen. Uh,
Wow.
So yeah, the people that liked it really, 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 really liked it. And I learned pizza from one of the best guys in the world, Tony Gemignani, who's now opening a chain finally, but he's got a bunch of restaurants in the Bay Area, and that's who I learned how to make pizza from. He's I know 15 or 16 time pizza world champion, and is now opening these places all over the country. He's opening like 300 places. Tony's Slice House. He's
Oh,
finally has
yeah.
started franchising. Um, and so like I made really good pizza. There's only like 6 things on the menu, but they were all really good. So people that liked it really, really, really liked it. And then I
Well,
fell
and I'm
back in
not
with this.
surprised that your videos, like, really helped you because all it took because people really were trying very hard to support small business,
Yeah,
and so it's
yeah.
good that you also had really good pizza because you made it really easy for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that initial of just, whatever it was like 100 orders and like 200 and some odd pizzas that was ordered in like 10 or 15 minutes of that first night because it was my story was on the news. Because I shut down,
Oh, damn.
I closed to in-person dining 2 days before the lockdown in Reno. So it was like a choice. So it was like a big, like, what is this guy doing? But New York was closed, LA was closed. I was like, this is obviously about to happen.
Yeah.
Why do I want, what am I going to get out of a couple more days? My folks, all this kind of stuff, the danger of that. So I got ahead of it a little bit and got some media attention. Um, and then I think, again, like that big rush of orders that first time was like people like, oh, let's support this guy. He just opened his place and blah, 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 blah. And then I think they were like, oh, the pizza's actually really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Man, you and happenstance. It's so
yeah.
like, you have so much of that. It's wild.
Yeah, it's been an interesting, it's been an interesting ride of the sort of different things that I've fallen into and had some interesting experiences for sure.
Yeah, I would call your life very interesting. Like, it's so fucking different from anything I know, but I was glad that you answered because one of the things I wanted to know was at what point acting had, been started, and so
Sure.
I thought that you were kind of doing that the whole time, like, doing some of your jobs and whatever to support trying to become an actor. So even that I didn't realize even in the show when you got that home and garden show that, like, you really I didn't put that together. I think because I was just so like, just trying to take in all of it, but I
Sure.
didn't I didn't realize that that was really the first big thing that you did. I thought you were
Yeah.
trying for a while.
Not for very long. I mean, literally, that was probably my fourth or fifth audition or something like that. And it was just, it was a very, again, it was a very sort of, you know, connection of various things of, I do this artwork. I don't know if you remember a show called, well, they did Dinner and a Movie was their big show on TBS. And then there was sort of a side part to that was called Movie and a Makeover, where it was like
Yes.
it was like, oh, a single dad's apartment. We're gonna watch 3 Men and a Baby, and we're gonna make over a single dad's apartment or something like that. Um, so the producer of that show reached out to me because he knew my artwork. He's like, hey, we want to use your artwork on one of our episodes. We hit it off. They're based in Atlanta. I used to live in Atlanta. I had done renovated a house in Atlanta. I sent him pictures. He's like, oh, you're a designer, you're an actor, blah, blah, blah. He's like, oh, you should be a designer on one of our episodes when we shoot in LA. And to me, I mean, the naivety is mind boggling. I'm like, oh my God, this is my big break, hosting one episode of a show on TBS that's on like noon on Saturday or something. But
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
time when you've never done anything, it seems like a big deal. And so he's like, make, make a demo tape, like essentially an audition. So I had two guys in my acting class, I made over their apartment and I had it, professionally filmed. And he was like, this is the best audition tape we've ever gotten. Like, yeah, we're absolutely going to do this. And then before that ever happened, my first business partner from the wholesale home furnishings company, she had moved to Minneapolis and she said, I met someone who knows someone. They're casting the show. They can't, for whatever reason, they can't find what they're looking for. And I was like, I got a tape. I'll send my tape. And they literally like within, a couple hours of getting this thing, they called me, they're like, have you cut your hair since you shot that? I'm like, no. They're like, don't cut your hair. I mean, there's a whole, and it was like the next day I had this contract. I didn't have an agent. I signed this horrifically bad
Oh,
contract.
man.
Um, which I knew wasn't great. I didn't know quite how bad it was, but I also thought I'm doing fine. I'm making money with my art. I don't know if I have any leverage. Just like get on TV. If you're any good, it will lead to other things. And if you're not, it won't really matter. The not knowing that I had this contract for 195 episodes of the show, like granted, still wasn't a lot of money. It's not like someone at CAA would have been interested. Somebody would have been like, yeah, we'll take 10% of that. Sure. And we'll make it better. I mean, I lived in Los Angeles. The show was shot in Minneapolis. I flew back and forth every other week for
You're
a
fucking
year.
kidding.
I paid for my own flights, my own hotel, my own car
Oh,
rental, like,
shit.
I mean, it's insane. It's completely insane in retrospect. Um, And so eventually,
Wow.
which is part of the reason it all went south, because eventually I was like, this is bullshit, guys.
Yeah.
This is not, like, and it's like I signed the deal, and I said, like, that's fine. I will do all that, but I'm not doing anything else for free. All this PR,
Right.
all this stuff. They wanted me to start doing extra stuff. I'm like, look, I'm not breaking any contracts. Totally fine. Happy to do the show. Grateful, appreciate it. But like, now you want me to do more shit for free? Like, no.
Yeah.
And then of course
Didn't sign that.
it all fell apart.
Yeah. Did you make it to the 195 episodes?
No, I made it to 52. And
Okay.
then they fired me because, and the way it's written is like, I can't quit, but they can do whatever they want. Kind of is one of those kind of things. Which again, is like, I didn't have any, it's not like I had other options or a history or a resume. I never,
Or even a
I'd
full
never,
understanding.
yeah, I had never really worked professionally, essentially, so I didn't have any clue. And it was non-union, and there was no, no, I made it to 52. I got fired. They recast. They got a new host, and I think they did 26 more. And then they pulled the plug on the whole thing. Yeah.
Mm. So, okay, are you as logical and grounded as you seem, or because here's the thing, you got to have some sort of fucking woo in there somewhere to believe in yourself enough and believe in some, you know, benefic force enough to do this shit. So, like, but you're very grounded and very like you don't seem like me who's just super fucking out there sometimes. But like you have to be a little out there to continue to do this.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous, decision. Pursuing a career in stand-up comedy is insane from the jump. No matter what, no matter how old you are, no matter what, it's ridiculous because there's so much that's out of your control. And the success, who is successful, is not always based on who's the funniest, or it's like there's so much things that are, especially nowadays. I mean, you have to be a video producer, you have to be an editor, you have to be
All of
you
it.
have to do so many things. And no, I'm good at the analytical part of things. I think I have a pretty good mix of analytical and creative. I don't know, I think I'm am I analytically creative, or am I creatively analytical? I don't know.
Well,
One
you
of
are
those two
Gemini,
things.
right? Isn't your birthday
Yeah,
the day
yeah,
before mine?
yeah,
15th,
yeah,
right? Are you the 15th?
yeah.
Yeah,
15th. Yep.
I didn't realize that until you posted something about your birthday. Maybe I knew it, but like I had forgotten. And I was like, the fuck, our birthdays are a day apart. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I remember that part of you, but also like how are you a Gemini and so fucking serious?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I think, I do think I talk about that to an extent in my show of just like, I decided, I mean, this is all looking back. So maybe I'm, rewriting my own history, but I think there was a decision of just like being emotional in my house just was not a good idea. And so
Yeah.
I shut it down, you know? And
Mhm.
again, it's not like that was like a Thursday night when I was 12. I was like, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. But I just think it was I'm just not going to get involved. And, I'm very protective of my emotions. And like, I mean, I'm trying to find more of the silly side. I mean, that can only help me in comedy for sure. Even if it's just like, here, I'm going to be silly or whatever. But, yeah, this is, I think, one of my big struggles with stand up is that I'm like, when something happens that like, oh, I don't want to do crowd work, I probably
Mhm.
should. That's, it's a huge way to not burn your jokes and get content. But I have very, very specifically tried to not do that because I don't know what's going to happen, and I don't like that,
Yeah.
you
Is
know.
it the element like of surprise that you're trying to avoid
Yeah,
there?
and it's on the spot, and I like to know. Like when I do my show, I mean, you never know for sure, but like I know that this stuff works. And I'm also at the point where like, oh, if it doesn't work, well, it's worked 100 times before. Then it's like, it's on you tonight. It's not,
Yeah, a
I know,
bad
I know
crowd.
it's not the joke. I have a friend,
Yeah.
Heather Pasternak that I write with, and she's done the Tonight Show and she did Colbert. And, she's like, if I'm not connecting with a crowd, if it's not working, she's like, I do my, Tonight Show set. And it's like, oh, you guys don't like that? She's like, I know that's good. Like, she's like, okay, so it's on you. So there's, yeah, doing new material is always hard for me. It's just really nerve wracking because you just like, oh, I don't know. Like I believe in this, but I don't know if anyone else does.
Oh god,
Yeah,
the feeling in my stomach imagining that is kinda wild. Like, I'm like, "Oh god," I just that's the part that scares the shit out of me, is just putting yourself out there in that way. But to your earlier point, something that I've been talking shit tons about in my solo episodes is we require connection for survival as humans, and yet our earliest programming teaches us that it's not safe. So many different ways that connection is unsafe for us, and I think that the point you made was really good, that you can't identify maybe the moment it happened where you decided being emotionally available was unsafe to even acknowledge emotions, let alone express them, which I think generationally is kind of everybody's experience. I mean,
sure.
I don't know anybody that was raised in a home that they weren't told to stop crying or I'll give you
Yeah,
something to cry about.
yeah, yeah.
Shit.
Especially Gen X. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I mean, the boomers, they did their big one, you know? But I think that it's so important that we acknowledge those things because at some point, if you don't figure out where it all shifted inside and start to shift it, then connection continues to be so dangerous. I find ways all the time still. That's really probably the reason I'm so passionate about talking about that right now is because that was the thing that was highlighted after losing Jake was oh, this is a pattern that started when my dad died when I was 15 because they died
Right.
like 30 years apart. And I was like, oh shit. Okay, I can definitely see where I've actually been pushing people away for 30 years. And that wasn't the story in my head. In my head,
Right.
people didn't know how to show up for me. They sucked in this way, whatever. And then having those experiences kind of recreated because grief is so niche, you know? Like, it's, like, one of the only ways that you can encounter some of these interactions, but I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I could choose to look at this differently this time and not allow this to isolate the shit out of me." So, how are you actively combating that thing? Because it seems like you are. It seems like you are genuinely interested in connecting with others, even if it still feels scary. What is your thought process and kind of what you do to feel safe in those connections or even just expressing yourself?
Well, it's still very controlled because I'm doing it, in as far as comedy goes, I'm doing it. I'm on stage. I have a microphone. You theoretically have to be quiet and listen to me. I have rehearsed. I know exactly what I'm going to say. Um, so it is a control. I'm doing it in a very controlled way for the most part, and then interacting with people either at a show or after show or online or whatever. I'm still in a little bit of a position of not power. I don't think is the right word, but there's people are knowing me from this. Of I saw you on stage or I saw a clip of you online, and um, so that gives me a I don't know a container, I guess, to you know be in for those conversations that gives me I don't know, I don't think I've said it like this before or thought about this, but, like, I don't know, maybe gives me a little bit of an upper hand of, like, having a little bit more control over how this situation's gonna go and, choosing which information I'm gonna share with you and not share with you, you know? Um, I mean, I posted a clip about this where I did go off script a bit, um, in a show, but somebody, and this was me talking about this is not the moment that it happened, but somebody after a show a while ago, they came up to me and they said, I think this is all performative. I don't think you really have depression. I think you're just, I have done this and I had to do this and I had to do this whole thing to like deal with my depression. And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, this is a performance. I can say all the same stuff while I'm sobbing on the floor, but nobody wants to pay me money for that if I do it that way, you know? Um, so there is that aspect of like, yeah, it is a very controlled way because I'm never more than 15 seconds of just letting myself sort of think about things in a certain way from absolute just emotional breakdown, which is probably not super healthy. It comes in handy every once in a while for acting of like, do you need the crying drops? I'm like, no, I don't. No. Like, how much do
Nope, I
you
got this
want?
actually. Yeah.
How much do you want one tear? I can sometimes I can do that, but sometimes I can't regulate it quite that much. And it's just they're like, yeah, we don't need you to have a complete
Yeah,
breakdown
we don't wanna
on
have to have staff on hand immediately following the
yeah.
scene, so,
Yeah. Well, they say, great acting is not crying, it's trying not to cry. I'm like, well, we'll see what happens. I don't know. Once
great,
it
I'm
starts,
great
it's
at both,
sometimes
so
hard to stop. Yeah.
Well, okay,
Um
so I'll cut this if you don't want me to say,
no, no, no. Well, okay.
but
Well, what yeah.
do
Whatever.
do you have you actually been to therapy?
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, for sure.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
okay,
yeah.
'cause that I was it was a very interesting experience for me because to be at your show because I was like, "Well, I wanna take it in just as an audience member," but also as a fucking entrepreneur and, like, somebody who's just, like, pursuing myself and whatever, I was also seeing it from that angle, and that was the only thing like, I've never doubted your sincerity about what you're doing, but I was like, "I wonder if the therapy thing is like, just a joke, you know what I mean? Because I didn't know that's the thing, and now your show has made me evaluate other comedian stuff a little bit differently too. I'm like, "Oh, I wonder if that's true," or, "I wonder if that was just, part of the bit," or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, so I did wonder, like, I wonder if he actually has not because you seem like somebody who, doesn't have your shit together, but I just wondered if it was a joke or not.
No, no, I get it. I mean, there are things in the show that are combinations of like, hey, this happened this night. It's like, well, it actually was two different things and three different people. It's like you sort of like, the way that you have to figure out how to get it across in a way that makes sense. It isn't too confusing. And um the whole story of like, oh, the first time I told some jokes about suicide, like I was at a club, nobody laughed, and that's pretty true. It wasn't nobody, but it wasn't great. But then the response that I got was not a guy who was at the show. It was a guy who posted this clip online in the Reddit stand up group, and it was a guy who said like, "Hey, dude," and it was like hundreds of them actually. It was literally I posted it in this group. This was a clip of a couple of my very early jokes about suicide, really, like, hovering over the delete key, like, as soon as somebody, like, leaves a shitty comment, like, "I'm probably gonna delete this, I can't deal
Oh,
with it."
yeah.
And it really went the other way, it went kind of, like, viral on that Reddit subgroup just a couple years ago, and, I mean, there were a couple comments that didn't like it all, but, like, 95% of the comments, like, "My brother did that, and this is fucking hilarious," and, "Oh my god," blah, 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 blah. Because I was really like, "I don't know if I'm ever gonna talk about this on stage again," and then I was like, "Okay, there are people out there." They might not be or be willing to be known at a Friday night show with 10 comics doing 5 minutes. It's probably not the environment for it, but I do know that there is a I mean, there's an audience for it. I was gonna say there's a market for it. That sounds very crass. But there is an audience for it. And having done it enough, even when I feel like I'm like, I don't know if this doesn't seem like it's going that great. Every time I've had that thought, there's always been at least one person who has either emailed me or messaged me or talked to me after the show that it was, that they did really get something out of it. And, hopefully mostly laughs, um, but also just like, it's funny. I've been thinking about this. I've been saying it for a while and I didn't realize it was such a thing and how it translates beyond just like suicide, but this idea of like, I don't know what to say. People ask me if I have any siblings. And that's a common thing for people with suicide, but also with if it doesn't have to be suicide, you lost a sibling, and then people that just like, oh, my parents, died when I was young. It's like, oh, where are you going home for the Christmas? Like, fucking, I don't want to have this conversation. Um,
Right.
just these very, very simple, harmless questions that people ask that really can like, I don't want to
Yes.
lie to you, but I don't want to have this conversation right now. Um,
Exactly. No, that one resonated hardcore for me because I'm perfectly fine with talking about really all of my losses, but specifically Jake because that's my most recent one, but, but not like every fucking interaction. And so
Right.
I'm also evaluating how uncomfortable you're going to be with my answer. That's probably the
Right.
number one thing that stops me from saying stuff is because I'm like,
Right.
man, I really don't wanna have to console you as soon as I give
Right.
you the answer to that
Right.
question,
Right.
like, I don't have that capacity right now to hold your grief over what I'm about to say. So that really
Yeah.
shapes how I'm gonna answer questions a lot. And then, though, even though I know better, and even though I never understood this when other people said that, there is this, like, I'm betraying myself or him if I don't answer it
Right.
100% truthfully, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, it's the very first joke I do, but that sort of sets up the stuff that comes later of like, that's what, when you see somebody, how many times a day does somebody be like, "Hey, how are you?" Oh, you don't. I promise, you don't want me to answer that question honestly. And I don't think most people ask it wanting an honest answer, but it's just like it's a reflex. Hey, how are you? Good, great, cool, me too. Have a good day. But it's that thing of every time that comes, like, I'm not great, But that's people don't want to hear that.
No, they do not, they do not. They just wanted to feel the awkward silence as they were passing you.
Hmm.
I used to be the
Yeah.
world's worst about that, actually. It got to where I was like, "Melissa, stop. Just say hi if you feel the awkward tension as you're," because I worked in a school for 7 years, so I would, like, pass people in the hallway and not have a single ounce of interest in speaking to them, but it felt so fucking uncomfortable to just pass them in silence that I would then, like, be a Gemini about it. And then, it got to where I was, like, really tired of those fake conversations, so I was like, "Just say hi," and that can be enough, like, "Hi." Even though it was so weird, but it was so much
Yeah.
better than all the, "How are you?" And then you start saying fucking living the dream to anybody who asks, and I was like, "No, we don't
Yeah.
say living the dream, boomer. The fuck?"
I mean, the only out in the world, like kind of the only acceptable answers that aren't gonna like spin one or the other person out are like fine, all good, pretty good, like it
Pretty good.
you
Yeah.
know, just space fillers, right? You make that noise, I make this noise, and we all go about our day. Like this is how it works.
Yeah, space fillers, exactly right. Exactly right. Well, and I super resonated with, stuff about your brother, obviously, but this is the thing that people, I think, that maybe react negatively to any of your stuff. I think what they just don't understand. Well, I was gonna say trauma, but I mean, maybe they don't. Maybe they really just haven't evaluated their own childhoods or something. But for me, it's comforting to hear somebody make jokes about all that darkness because, well, first of all, it's a very familiar story to me, but also, like, I can't tell you how many times I've said something wildly fucking inappropriate about any one of my situations, and the
Right.
reaction of the person I said it to be really strong. And man, you gotta have space to say some of this shit. So I think honestly, that's so much of what you being open to talking about those things, however you have crafted them to be safe enough to say them. It's still topics that make people like me go, "Yeah, it is okay to talk about this." Because whether you're talking about it in a funny way or not, surely you understand those are topics that society at large are really uncomfortable with and say, "We're not supposed to talk about these at all, let alone make jokes about."
Yeah, I mean, I try to promote my show in a way like I don't promote in a way like, oh, there's 20 minutes on suicide, but dark humor and mental health and things like that because I want people to have at least some idea what they're walking into, that it's not, dick jokes and crowd work. It's, I that's I mean, look, Matt Rife probably made more money yesterday as a comedian than I will make in my entire career, but it's not what I want out of comedy, but it's what some people want, but those people should not come to my show. Because no, but I'm not. It's not good for anybody. But yeah, it's that thing of like and I don't know. It's such a. I'm not trying to like heal anybody or maybe only myself or whatever. But I know there's an audience for it. And again, I talk about it in the show. But like the comedians that talk about this stuff, Maria Bamford, Gary Goldman, Neil Brennan, Taylor Tomlinson, Mike Birbiglia, Mark Maron, those people, that's helped my life, watching them talk about that stuff and be like, oh, I didn't know other people had those kind of thoughts or had those kind of experiences. So it feels very pretentious to be like, I'm going to do something on the level of what they have done, but it's also that is a big inspiration to me, those comedians. And I didn't know you could do that. I'm going to try to do that.
Right.
So yeah,
Well,
it's sort of
exactly, and
insane
just
cuz
knowing that they're showing you exactly what's possible doesn't
yeah.
mean guaranteed, but it's definitely possible.
Yeah, and it's been a really wild couple of years, and there's a lot of things like happening that I couldn't have believed in. And another that I didn't mention, Christopher Titus. I don't know if you're familiar with Christopher Titus, but if you're not, he did a special, his first special, I believe, in 2004 or
I've
five. It's
heard
called
the
Norman
name.
Norman Rockwell is Bleeding. I think it's on YouTube for free. It's 90 minutes. It's uh, it's alcoholic, abusive father, I think bipolar or something mother who like killed her second husband, killed herself. Hilarious, right? It is. It's fucking hilarious. And I love his stuff now, but that like I think will probably always be like his opus. But that was I was like, oh, again, like I didn't know you could talk about that stuff. I had a 20-minute phone conversation, not to drop names, but like I talked with him on the phone for 20 minutes last week and like was the kindest guy. And I was like, "Oh, I didn't how the fuck do you know who I am?" So that's those moments have been really, really exciting and like encouraging
Well, I
for
was
me.
gonna
They're
say,
like,
are
"Okay,
those the
maybe
things
I'm."
that keep you going?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And it's because I realize, as much as like, oh, wow, I want my big break. Like, what does that even mean now? Like, I mean,
Right.
I guess it's a viral post. It's not the Tonight Show. Not that I don't want to do the Tonight Show, but that doesn't, make your career anymore. I mean, it certainly is a brick in the wall for sure. But, um, like a year ago, I'm like, all right, I'm ready for my big break. I'm like, man, I'm glad I didn't get that a year ago. I'm a lot more ready
Yeah.
for it now. I don't know if I'm ready, but I'm more ready than I was. And so I think it's, we all want these big things to happen. And it's hard to realize, I think that, it's really it's a series of small things and,
Yes.
that really start to add up. I just, again, this weekend, like it's in the world of a like real sort of what I would consider a real comic. I don't know. Like I featured for a weekend for Laurie Kilmartin, who was brilliant and another one of my favorite comedians. She had a special maybe 10 years ago called 45 Jokes About My Dead Dad, and she
Mhm.
like live tweeted her mom dying of COVID during the pandemic. And, she's
Oh,
dark,
I
she's
didn't know that.
smart, she's really brilliant. She writes for Conan, she writes for, Kimmel. She's legit. And I got to feature for her this weekend. I'm like, the money is terrible featuring. There's, you do 20 minutes and you just try to, I very quickly realized like, oh, these people don't want to hear me do dark humor. I'm like trying to impress her the first set. I'm like, oh, that's not, no, like that's separate. Not that I wasn't doing suicide jokes, but I was like, I'm going to impress Lori. And like, she just wants the room to laugh. It's like, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. So that was really interesting for me and educational. She was amazing. And watching her, do her show was very inspiring. And she was very kind to me. And, I'm about to, as soon as we're done here, I'm going to drive, I mean, it's an hour, but drive to Tahoe. Well, it's 4th of July. It might be 6 hours to drive to Lake Tahoe today. But,
Yeah, no shit.
I'm doing shows at Caesar's Republic at a casino like tonight, this
Wow.
weekend, which is kind of insane to think. I'm like, wow, that sounds great. So it's all these little steps that are starting to add up, and it's just such a crazy job. No matter what you think, I mean, almost every time that I think I know how something's going to go, it doesn't. It goes a different way. I have done shows that I have dreaded for 15 people or whatever. I'm like, oh, it's going to be awful, and they've been great. And I've done sold out shows, 100 people. I mean, for me, that's about as big as I go, 100, maybe 130, 140. I try not to do any place bigger than that when I'm by myself. Um, that have been, not great. That I thought, oh my God, sold out, 100 people. This is such a good room. Like, it's going to be great. And it's like, oh, all right. Well, this is not that it was terrible, but it's like, I really thought it was going to be a lot more fun than that.
Yeah. Are you
I think
becoming more comfortable with the uncertainty of it all?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are
I mean,
you?
it's not fun, but I try to find the fun in it. And I'm also realizing instead of like, oh my God, they really didn't like that joke, I'm going to think about that for 10 minutes in the back of my head. I'm like, all right, well, there's 230 more jokes. That's fine. And nobody's going to like them all. So I've gotten better at it. but it certainly is a lot more fun when they like you, or when they're
God.
verbal. You know, the first show in Tulsa the night before I saw you Thursday night, I didn't sell well. I was like maybe 25, maybe 30 at the most. I think it was more like 25 though. And I wasn't really getting much of a response. And I kind of, over time, I realized like I couldn't see everybody, but like there's three people in the front row. I'm like, you guys are all laughing, but you're all laughing silently,
Yeah.
and you're like, this is so when there's only a handful of people there, one really sort of vocal laugher can really change a whole room like that. And I just like, oh, I don't have that person tonight. So it's like, all right, let's lock in and do the job, do the same show we were gonna do. Yeah, yeah, it was loud, that was a great show. That was really fun. Other than the one person
I was so
that
uncomfortable. I was like,
I
"Please
let
stop.
I
Please,
know I
please
let that go
stop."
way too long, and I feel bad
Well,
about that,
did you
but
though? Because I think the very first way you addressed it, because I came home and I was telling my son about it, and, I was like, "So this is what he said the first time," and he's like, "Oh, she should have gotten it right then." Like, the Q&A.
right, 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 yeah.
I fucking died at that. I was sitting there like, "No, please get the hint, please get the hint," because like, I'm annoyed by you. I can't even imagine being the person on the stage because I was pretty close to her, but I was like,
Yeah.
"What are you doing?" But I honestly do think people don't know that you don't want the feedback unless you say something.
Yeah,
I've
it was
definitely seen that before.
yeah, and usually her responses were like at the end of whatever, whether it was a setup or a punchline, it was like, "Oh yeah, oh that's so true. Oh Zoloft, I love Zoloft." It wasn't heckling, but it was interrupting, and it was just so. Usually, that happens. It's not like that. It just happens without instinctually, but it's sort of like a reaction that people almost can't help. I mean, they obviously are making a choice to say something, but it's usually one person and one bit, one setup, one joke, one comment. Like, oh, that's where I grew up, or whatever it is that people sort of can't help themselves. But it was like every second sentence,
Yeah, it was a lot.
and it was,
Like,
and
I
so
was
it just,
annoyed. Before you said anything, I was annoyed.
yeah. I mean, she did it right out of the gate, and I said something along like, yeah, let's save that for the Q&A. Like, I won't be here, but you have a good time or whatever. And then she said it again, and I said something, and then she quieted down for a little bit, but then and I let it go on way too long, and I regret that, but yeah, it's like, and I'm like, I don't know, can I only hear that because she's in the front row? Can other people hear that? I don't know. Is it
No, we heard
disruptive?
it. We
But
heard
for
it.
me, it just throws off my timing and my rhythm and all this stuff. I'm like, just like, fuck, yeah. And I don't
Yeah.
want to tell you to shut the fuck up. I know that you're excited to be here. She says like, I love you. I'm such a fan. I'm like,
Oh
that's
my
great.
god,
I
that
love
one
it.
I
But
was
like,
so uncomfortable. I was like, "This is my worst nightmare," because the way I feel secondhand embarrassment for people is fucking awful, and I was like, "Lady, I can see that you're very sweet. Please stop
yeah.
making this worse, please, because this is too much."
Yeah. So like I said, I definitely let it go on too long. And then when I finally did say like I'm gonna have to, throw you out or ask you to leave or whatever it was, then she was quiet after that, I think. But
You've
yeah, it went on
quieted
too
her.
long. I don't
She
have a lot of
was
experience with
quieted.
that kind of stuff because of the way I do my shows. I didn't come up with all these, doing bar shows at midnight for 9 people that are drunk that you have to like manage. I don't
Ew,
have a ton of
yeah.
experience with that. So it
Yeah.
does throw me off a bit. So it's like every show, I'm like, all right, what did I learn today? It's like, well, you have to deal with that sooner. That's what I learned from that. That's my takeaway from that. And, sorry, you had to
And
pay the
apparently
price for
not in
me
a
for me
funny
to learn
way.
that.
You gotta be serious when you're telling them to shut up, I guess.
Yeah, I see, again, very experienced comedians, the way they deal with stuff like that is usually it's a quick put down. And then but then they come back with kindness of like, hey, hi, how are you? What's your name? What do you do? Blah, blah, blah. They re-engage politely and kindly. But then if they come back again with sort of trying to win or whatever it is, then they put them in their place again. But yeah, I've gotten a little better at it because my instinct is always just shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up. Um, but I feel like that's a reasonably decent line, and should have been the end of it.
Probably should have been picked up on a little bit
Yeah,
better. I
yeah.
was wondering
But
how
then
much
and yet,
alcohol had been involved.
yeah, and then afterwards, I'm like, oh my god, like I don't know. Does she have? Is there something going on? Is there not Tourette's because Tourette's is so like involuntary and non-specific, but like, I don't know. But if there's something going on, should you be sitting in the front row at a comedy show? Yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
not.
I don't know.
Well, I have loved having you. I loved your show. I'm
Thank
so
you.
excited that I finally got to see you in person and then I got out of the house and and had
Yeah.
a little night out by myself. That was
Yeah, good
fun.
for you. I hope you did. Did you not to go back to, I mean, we should start the way we started. Like, did you make it all the way home, or did you like go to like a gas station? Did you go back to that McDonald's
No,
and like
I made it home.
Okay.
I went to I stayed in a hotel, so that was part
Oh,
of the
okay.
fun
Oh,
was
wow. Well,
yeah.
wow.
I
Thank you
was like,
for,
"I'm not
making
driving all
such
the way
a
home. The
thank you
turnpike
for
is
making
scary at night."
such a trip, and thank you
Well,
for
it was
coming so
fun. It
far
was super
to see the
fun. I had
show.
a
And
great
yeah,
time, no complaints at all,
thank you.
except for that my stomach decided to become my enemy, but, it was just gas, that's all it was. Just
Mhm.
got back to the hotel and chilled, watched some shit on the
Yep.
computer and went to sleep, that was it.
Mhm.
No shit in my pants, everyone.
There's the title of your episode.
No shitting my pants. Well, if I wasn't all into the fucking search engine optimization of it all because,
Right, right, sure. Yeah.
maybe that's a subtitle, "No shitting my pants." Alright, I'm late for a client. I hope you have a
Okay.
wonderful 4th.
Thank you. You too.
Okay,
Thanks,
wait,
Melissa.
I'm gonna include your Instagram in
Great.
the show notes. Do you want your
Great.
YouTube there? What all you want included?
Instagram, yeah, Instagram and yeah, Instagram's kind of, and my website, I guess, aaronfoster.com. Yeah, if you don't
Okay,
mind. Yeah.
yes. So I'll include that. Audience, look in the show notes, find Aaron, he's great. Okay, I'm gonna press stop. Hold on just one sec. Thanks for coming to Emotionally Unavailable. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, and share.